My name is Larry Heidkamp. My farm name is Our Farm on Mount Olivet. It's a farm in Murray County, just outside of Columbia. This is my first year farming full-time. Last year I was farming part-time and selling to the Columbia Farmers Market. And before that, I've been gardening for 30 plus years, using these general techniques, but not quite amped up at a commercial scale. This year I have about 10,000 square feet of field. The field behind us here, and also some that I used last year in the other side of the house. And the products I'm growing is, I'm a mixed vegetable grower, both a concentration on lettuces and greens. Very few farmers sell them, so that's a good niche market for me. And I sell them at a couple farmers markets, on Saturday mornings at the Columbia Farmers Fresh Market here in town. I go up on Tuesday afternoons to the Berries Farmers Market that's up in the south end of Franklin. I sell some through Nashville Grown, a food hub in Nashville, and also have a few local restaurant accounts, and one personal chef buys through me. Okay, some of the marketing risks I face. The biggest thing for me is gauging the market. Last year as a part-time farmer, I sold a lot of arugula, but this year I'm not selling very much as a standalone product. But I'm finding that people like to buy it in a spicy mix, so mixed lettuces and arugula and red Russian kale, but not so much standalone. So I have a lot of arugula growing, but not much of a market right now. On the other hand, head lettuce. People are buying head lettuce, and I'm selling out at every market. And unfortunately right now I didn't plan well enough, so I have a bit of a gap in production. So for a few weeks I'm not going to have head lettuce, which is a good profitable crop for me. So I need to plan better to make sure that I have enough head lettuce to sell at every single market, because that's, every head I don't produce is a financial loss for me. Pricing for me is it's a dynamic process. At every farmer's market I can change the prices. So when I get to the market in the morning and I see other farmers who have identical products to me, we discuss and figure out what price we should all be selling at. And not always the highest price, but typically we figure out a good price between us. That way customers don't shop just on price between the farmers. The other thing, customers were telling me that I was giving them a very good deal. They were surprised at how little the total price was when they made the sale. So that was a strong cue to me that I was selling for too low. Last week I raised my prices on a couple of items quite a bit. And a few of the customers mentioned it, but no one turned away because of the higher prices. So now I think my prices are more in line with what they should be. And that actually gave me about a 25% boost in income because of that. I guess for restaurants as well, Nashville Grown, you can see the prices for all of the farmers who are selling through Nashville Grown. So I can use that to see for similar crops what other farmers are selling. I need to take into account or certified organic versus not. But that gives me a good gauge as to what people are willing to, what they're selling for, and hopefully what they're willing to buy for. Okay, for financing, I've chosen to finance our farm through personal finances. My startup costs were actually fairly low, less than the cost of a used row tractor. So my wife and I decided to use some of our personal savings to finance the farm. I very carefully considered how much money I needed, and also what I needed to buy commercial grade versus what I could use do-it-yourself homeowner grade products. Things like my drip irrigation is obviously commercial. My seeders are commercial. I have a a greens harvester, which is commercial, and that saves me huge amounts of time for harvesting the lettuce. So rather than having to cut by hand, I'm able to just use it, kind of just zoop and cut it. So that was a fairly high, in my price range, expenditure, but it's repaid itself every week in growing. And part of the financial risk I face, I didn't really think about it up front, is the amount of time it takes to start up. I have these tunnels and the trellises here. To put up one of these low tunnels only takes half an hour or so, but the time it took to go to the store to buy them, to cut them, to cut the row cover, to go up to the stone yard to buy the gravel, to buy this and fill the sandbags and put them out, that took, I want to say, half a day to do all that work. But so that's just that one piece. And for the landscape fabric I use, it's reusable, but I had to first find a place to buy it and then lay it out and burn the holes in it. And although I do all these things as efficiently as possible, it's just what should take an hour might take all morning. So that's really taken away from, quote, the farming aspect of it, but I couldn't farm the way I'm farming without doing that. Okay, so the resources I've used, actually quite a few. I used UT and Tennessee State Extension quite a bit. I've been to the PIC-TM Products Conference in February. I've been to the Farmers Market Boot Camps 2017 and 2016. I've been to any number of seminars over the years, everything from poultry to farming and fruit trees or whatever. And trying to figure out what it is I wanted to do. So that's been a valuable resource, not necessarily on a day-to-day basis, but just for overall knowledge. And the other thing I'm doing, I'm still, this year I'm attending the Tennessee State New Farmer Academy, which is, again, nothing specific. Is saying, I'm not becoming a better farmer because of it, but there's some very specific things I'm learning, that, like where to buy crop insurance or liability insurance, and the best way to lay out the drip irrigation and things. So valuable time spent up there. And also other local farmers. I met Samantha Lamb from the Farm and Fiddle at the local farmers market, and she's been farming now for 13 years in a similar style, and she's a wealth of knowledge and been very, very helpful and generous with the time to me. Okay. I think the most important part there was the emphasis on planning and record keeping. I'm an IT project manager in my past life, so I've always been cognizant of record keeping and planning, but you don't always think of that in a non-work environment. This is not my work, but definitely planning as best you can. And once you get the plan, knowing that the plan itself is going to be useless, you need to adopt and change and adapt the plan as you're going. That and record keeping. Last year, as a part-time farmer, I kept track of what I sold, but not what I'm harvesting. So this year, I'm actually, as I cut my lettuces, I know how many heads I've cut to harvest how many pounds. And because I also track how much I've sold, I used to say, what do I have in the garden that I can bring to the market? Now I say, I think I can sell this much. So in order to sell that much, I need to harvest that amount of lettuce or whatever. So that's been very, very profitable for me. Okay, so about the Lester, the local area specialist. I did have a meeting with him back in March, I think it was. We discussed my plans, and at that point my plans were fairly nebulous. I had an idea what I wanted to do, and I had some ideas of revenue. When, as I mentioned them, Lester looked at me and said, without actually saying anything, I got the idea that I was way over. It was in fantasy land. So that, and just the emphasis on planning and figuring out where I'm going to sell and how I'm going to sell it was important. And also at the New Farmers Academy, he had a session on planning, which again was reinforcing what he said earlier, which was good.